We have flown back in from other countries, gathered our sick selves, and have returned to full strength. And we're back with the look down the barrel as we are just 2 full game weeks away from knowing who makes finals, guys. Cody, fresh haircut and all. How are you this week, my guy?
Right, feeling good, looking good. I hope at least. Can't ask for much more, man.
That's what I love to hear. Michelle, besides a busted ankle, trip home from NZ, how are
What?
we?
Yeah, good. Don't worry about the ankle thing, Cody. I just don't know how to walk, apparently, and that's all that happened. I wish I had a better story. My ankle just gave out on me. That's it.
Too much traveling, mate.
Embarrassing.
Just stay home.
But another 6 points this weekend, Michelle. Actually, no.
No, 3.
3 points, but 3 points that count. So that's all right. Perfect. So let's have a quick. We weren't here last week, guys. Sorry, I was out with a chest infection. Michelle is doing some cool stuff in the background, so keep an eye on her socials for stuff she posts there. So Cody was the actual only available one for us last week, and I wasn't going to make him talk by himself. But we are
Solo
back.
pod, here we go.
I know, right? So let's have a look at what just happened this week, guys. We have had some big games, some big moves in the table, some teams that are officially out of contention mathematically for the finals, that being Adelaide and Canberra. We did touch on that last week, but it's officially not possible anymore. I'm pretty sure it was not possible last week as well, but that's a different story. Adelaide did lose 2-1 to Brisbane, as Brisbane kind of half kept their hopes alive for a finals push. It was, I don't know where I was going with that line of thought. My brain just switched off, guys. It's been a long day. But a very even game across the board. So Adelaide probably unlucky to come out of here with a point. 12 to 14 on shots, 4 to 6 shots on target, 52% of the possession to Adelaide, more passes Adelaide's way and everything. They just couldn't find the back of the net by the looks of things, which has kind of been the story of their season. Either they score tons and let tons in, or they just can't get the ball in the back of the net. So Chelsea Dorber does get on the sheet, and so does Meeks. Meeks gets back on the score sheet heading into the finals, which is good to see. Cody, any opinion on your home team officially out of contention? Or your favourite team, sorry.
It's not my home team. I'd probably say unfortunately. I do love living in Sydney. Kind of. Some days it pisses me off. No, look, honestly, I'm not surprised. I think if you look at the balance of how this competition's played out this season, there's been times where I've looked at Adelaide and gone, you know what, kind of surprised they're not coming last. And that's mainly because I'm also really big on Canberra and think up until Wednesday, didn't think they deserved to come last. And then they went and conceded 8 goals in 2 games and kind of made me realise, okay, yeah, maybe there is a reason why this team's not doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you touch on the off-field stuff with Canberra later on, but I think Adelaide are probably a little bit fortunate. Maybe Canberra's just got a lot going on behind the scenes that are dragging them down a little bit. Otherwise, it would be, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, embarrassing season. But you get games like this where they can play good football, they can play well, and they are a little bit unlucky. But if you're not going to be able to produce something on a consistent basis, this is what happens. You talk about they're unlucky in this game. Maybe they're unlucky against Melbourne City where they have the 1-0 draw, but then you have games against Melbourne Victory where you get smacked 4-1. So, and that's at home too. So, look, on the balance of things, I'm not surprised Adelaide's out of contention already. If it wasn't such a tight competition, it probably could have happened sooner. But, look, I think they're just going to be playing for pride for the rest of the season now. That's all they've got, really.
Stay off the bottom. Michelle, anything to add on Adelaide or Brizzy? Yeah.
No, I think, it's a weird one. Like, both teams just haven't really done well this season. I think, obviously, you're looking at the table, Brisbane's doing better than Adelaide, but I think, like, all these sorts of teams from, like, 8 to 12 have been just subpar. Like, they'd have a good game every now and then, but then they'd kind of just fall off and the next game would just be terrible. So, I think you would think that the squad that Brisbane has, that they would be doing better. But there has also been a lot of backroom changes and whatnot. They had their coach changed as well. I think was that halfway through the season or earlier in the season.
A couple of rounds,
it's like
in,
5 or 6 rounds.
Yeah. So It's one of those things. I think Adelaide's problem is just that it's stale. I think, with all due respect to Adrian Stentai, I don't think it's working. You know, they had one good season under him where they made the finals, but they've not been able to produce since. And yeah, they're sitting second last, and I think they're sitting second last for a reason.
Cody, you brought up the midweek game that happened between Wanderers and United, which kind of helped cement Wanderers in that clash for that sixth spot in the finals. Canberra either score a ton of goals or they can't, but they definitely do one thing consistently, and that's barely defend, which is pretty evident in both games they played this week. It's hard with this club. We had them coming third or something in our preseason predictions.
I was very big on them going into this season. I genuinely had them tipped for a dark horse to go as far as they possibly could. And look, when you've got a duo of Vesna Milivojevic and Michelle Heyman in your side, you're not stupid for thinking that, really.
Who,
and
by the stats, have done their job.
Yeah, you're talking about the league's top goal scorer and one of the best creators in the competition. They're doing exactly what they can do. The best way, and this is going to sound utterly disrespectful, and I do apologise to any Canberra fans, players, or people involved in the club for saying this. It reminds, you guys seen that meme where you have one, like the back half of a horse drawn like near perfection, like pure illustrated artist. Like you got all the finer details in there. And then the middle's like a bit scrappy, but it still looks nice. And then the head looks like it's been drawn by a 5-year-old. That kind of describes Canberra right now. Up the front, it's brilliant. Probably the best in the competition. And then you get to the back and it's really, really bad. Unfortunately, look, I don't know how to describe it without sounding utterly disrespectful. I'm just going to say that, I guess, if you're bringing in visa players and you're having them around the back half of the field, you want someone that can gather your defense and make sure that you're not conceding 4 goals a game. Maybe that's an area they've got to kind of look into. But I think if there's one good thing I can say about Canberra is there's a very, very clear problem in the side, and moving forward onto next season, provided everything off the field actually gets sorted, it's one that can be addressed very, very easily.
Wanderers, on the other hand, doing everything they can to stay within a finals touch. 4-1 against Canberra, into a 1-0 against Perth at home. Big results as they jump over the Jets to claim that 6th spot, which the Jets have been sitting in for a couple of weeks now. So we'll look towards the end of this season in a second. This squad's kind of pulling things together. I know Michelle's not going to want to admit that they're looking good, but they have started playing some decent football in the last couple of weeks. Michelle, we will start with you. What are your thoughts on this team? Do they have what it takes to hold on in these last 2 games? They've got Western United and Wellington away. So they've got Western United at home and then Wellington away to end the season.
Well, I mean, obviously they've got a goal scorer. They've got a couple goal scorers, Sophie Harding and Holly Caspers. Oh my God. Sorry, Holly. Which is great, absolutely. And they will be getting Alexia Apostolakis back as well. And I think there's another Western Sydney player in the Young Matildas.
Yeah.
Gemma Ferris, but she hasn't really been starting or anything. It's just a backup, really.
Yeah. But Alexia I think she's quite important to that Wanderers side. So having her back will definitely be a big boost for the Wanderers. Do I think they can beat Western United at home? They've done it before. They've done it with a worse squad.
I mean, the Jets just did it as well.
So there's really they could very much push for those final spots. And I think really they've got a lot of confidence. And I think that confidence also comes from them being an underdog side and them being like, well, if we don't make the finals, we don't make the finals. What's new? Nothing, right? But if we do make the finals, how huge is this for us? What a huge morale boost it is. So I think mentally they're really strong, and then that kind of plays out on the pitch. I think to be able to come back from that loss against Sydney in the derby, I think has shown a lot of character from them, especially because that's not a fun loss. It was a red card, there was a penalty, it was a bit demoralizing. So I think mentally they're in a really good state, which I think really helps with the way that you play football. And this game being at home, on their turf and in their training fields, like I think it should really be a positive sign for them.
Yeah.
I think Western United losing Adriana Taranto and Chloe Lagazzo like in similar times is huge, like a huge loss. I think what's more interesting in this fixture is that it's Kat Smith returning to not only the club that booted her out, but like her training field. Like this is like they're going back to the Wanderers Park. So, this is a field that she's very much accustomed to. She knows this field. And I think the spice in terms of she's going up against the coach who's mates with the guy who allegedly had her sacked. Allegedly, guys, no one quote me on that. But yeah, I just think it should be an interesting fixture. But I do think Western Sydney could surprise a lot of people. And low key, like if they beat Western United, that's a huge boost for Sydney FC. So they could do one or two things here. They could, one, help their crosstown rivals win the league, and two, they could push themselves into a final spot. So I guess I'm going to throw this to Cody. Actually, Cody, what would you be telling the Wanderers? Because obviously them making the finals is huge for them. But if they beat Western United, that's like a big boost for Sydney FC to win the league. But Sydney FC fans won't cheer for the Wanderers.
It's funny, actually. I made this comment on the radio on the weekend. Kickoff Southern FM. I look at this Wanderers side. I think they've got what it takes to make finals. This Western United game's probably the fixture they've got to get 3 points, and they get it here. I reckon they'll go on to make finals. They lose this match, I don't think they'll go on to beat Wellington away from home. If you're talking about what that means to Sydney FC, having relationships with different Wanderers fans, seeing how they think, how their brain works, I don't think they're going to be thinking about what it means to Sydney FC. I still think that rivalry is kind of developing in the women's space a little bit, as much as maybe Sydney FC do enjoy a win against the Wanderers, even though you guys kind of do it all the time. I don't know how you don't get bored, but honestly, I think Wanderers fans will be sitting there thinking, "Fuck it, we're making finals. This is what it means for us." What I'm interested in the fact of is that if Wanderers do make finals, odds are it's going to be in that 5th, 6th spot. They win their first semi-final, you're possibly setting up a Sydney Derby semi-final doubleheader.
Yeah,
in the space of 2 weeks. That's the part that I think will be really, really interesting, and I kind of hope happens. But I don't think Wanderers fans are going to be sitting there thinking we want to sacrifice making finals or delay it just so that Sydney FC don't win the league. The interest will be with themselves and what they can achieve first. If Sydney FC win the league, they're in a position where even if they lose this game and Western United win, Sydney FC could probably still win, probably will still go on to win the competition, considering you have that game in hand. So I don't think it's too far gone out of Wanderers' hands to actually bother with it and risk finals at the same time.
Yeah.
I think Wanderers fans would be stupid to have that mentality, if I'm being honest with myself. They've got their own things to worry about. They've got their own interests to worry about. And frankly, I'm throwing everything that I can at this game, if I'm a Wanderers player and a Wanderers fan, to try and make sure that we can secure... Well, not we. I'm talking as if I am a Wanderers fan, so that they can secure finals football. I say we because I'm there almost every weekend. Like, I genuinely do enjoy
Western
being around
Sydney
the
fan confirmed. Western Sydney fan confirmed.
Cody's got the RBB tattoo. Let's go.
No, honestly, I look, covering their side in detail this season, I've got a respect for them, and I do want to see them do well. Doesn't mean I'm a fan, but I do want to see the side go as far as they can.
All right, let's go to two teams that do have an extra game in hand. So we've got Sydney FC and Wellington, who both have midweek games over the next 2 weeks to play to make up for washouts and other occurrences. Wellington, Michelle, you were there. You made the trip. 4-2. The girls got up. Big win across the ditch, especially with the Jets downing Western United clear by, a point at the top of the ladder, I think it is at the moment. So back in top spot. How are we feeling? 3 points away from home.
Huge. I'm so happy about this. It started off really like nervy. Then it got really good. Then I got nervy again at the end. Especially when Wellington got 2 goals and it was 3-2, and I was like, girls, sort yourselves out. But no, I think Courtney Vine, I think, had the best game of the season. Like, this was her best game. 2 goals, an assist, unreal. I think she could have gone for 3, I reckon. And I said that at halftime. I was like, I reckon Courtney Vine can get a hat-trick in this game. We were close, but yeah, she played out of her skin. Unfortunately, Kirsty Fenton did go down. She went in for a challenge, and then it looks like she's hyperextended her knee. She couldn't bend her knee, and so she was walked off the field. And then, because I was sitting behind the bench, and you could see the medical staff and like the paramedics from the ambulance, they came over and they got the stretcher bearers out and stretchered her to the ambulance. So she went to hospital in Wellington, which is really unfortunate. Huge loss for Sydney. Huge loss. Like, it just, it sucks for her as well. Like, she's been unreal this season. So it's just, really, really sad to see. But Sydney, then they subbed Shay on, which I thought was interesting. So they must have moved Margot Chevet into more of a defensive position, I think, or maybe Abby Lemon dropped back. I can't remember, but someone dropped back and Shay Connors went on. But yeah, I mean, girls pulled through. It was great. Saw them all after the game. They were happy and confused that I was in Wellington. I was like, surely you know by now that I'm going to go watch you guys play. Like, I have the superfan title to uphold. And then, do you want me to tell my story now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Is this where you're getting on the team bus?
Yes. Basically, me and my friend Jason, we were chatting with Ante Juric after the game. I just went over to say hi to him and, congratulations, well done winning the game. Any updates on Princess Sabini or Kirsty Fenton? And yeah, so basically we're just having a chat. And then he was like, "Oh, you guys, where are you guys staying?" We're like, "Oh, we're in the city." And he was like, "Oh, you guys good to get back? Like, do you need a lift or whatever?" And we were like, "Oh, well," because mind you, where the place is like not in Wellington. Like, it's 20 minutes outside the city. It's no public transport. It's they call it P Town. So when we think about Campbelltown, we call that C Town. So similarities there. In
Campbelltown's also really, really far from the city
because it's also a hole.
Yeah.
But anyways, some guy had a shipping container in his front yard. Okay, so that's the kind of area that they're at, and that's like right across the field, like right across the stadium. Anyways, so Ante basically was like, "Do you want a lift back on the team bus? Like, you guys can hop on the bus with us. We'll take you back into the city." And we were like, "Yeah, actually, that would be awesome," because it cost us $50 to get into the city in an Uber. So I hopped on the team bus. The girls were like, "What is happening?" Taylor A was like, "Are you coming on the bus?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why?" I was like, "You guys are saving us $50." And she goes, "You owe us $50 for coming on the bus." So yeah, anyways, it was awesome. This is why I love the club, and like, I guess the team, the culture. Like, they take care of the fans, they take care of the team and the players. Thankfully, this bus driver did not go the wrong way, like in Melbourne. So no, it was awesome. Shout out to Ante for letting us on the bus. I could not believe that I was on the team bus with all the players.
Michelle then used that $50 to get a stick and poke tattoo done to commemorate the moment.
Absolutely not.
Cody, looking at forward for Sydney, we're going to go through this in depth, but they've got what should be a relatively easy game this week against Adelaide. Then they go midweek against Canberra. So 2 pretty easy games by ladder standings to push into ending things against Melbourne Victory. Your thoughts, prayers, well wishes, and feel free to share some thoughts on Wellington while you're there too, if you wish.
Sydney have the title wrapped up by the 27th of March, in my opinion. At home to Adelaide. Look, where things.
That's the first hot take of the episode.
I'd be extremely shocked if I'll say it that way. I'd be extremely shocked if they don't. You get 3 points this week against Adelaide. I don't see, look, unless Adelaide really come out firing and go, well, we want to end this season on a high, I'd be surprised if Sydney FC let themselves roll over in a situation like that. Then you go to Canberra midweek. Maybe if there's a bit of tired legs, you go away with a draw. But even then, by then, you're probably looking at enough points that you've at the very least all but sealed it. You probably don't want to leave it late. You don't want to leave it against that Melbourne Victory game. It's probably cutting it too fine. But no, I think Sydney FC they're in a good position. I think the title will be theirs with a game to spare. Wellington, say what you want of what I've said about Wellington Phoenix all season. I know this is talking Tillies. I know I've always said I just want to focus on the Aussies. I am genuinely disappointed with how Wellington Phoenix season has kind of unfolded towards the end. They got figured out. They couldn't kind of fix their away form, and unfortunately when good quality teams go to your ground and you're banking on your ground to pick up points, your season's not going to go very well. They got that one-away win in Perth recently. I guess you can give them that, but that period where they had 4 away games in a row, that's killed their season. And unfortunately, it's beyond repair, and they can't make finals now. But I think they can make finals if they win all 3 games.
By my math, they've got 1 more week.
Yeah, look, you know what? They've got Adelaide and Canberra.
They've got
the next 2
Adelaide
games.
at home and Canberra away. So they
I
literally follow.
I don't see them winning that Canberra away game. I think the travel will get to them.
I don't know.
Canberra. Look, on paper, if you didn't have to take travel into account, and if we all live 20 minutes from each other, maybe they do win that match. Unfortunately, this is A-League football. Teams have to travel overseas to get
Canberra
to games.
Canberra have conceded 8 goals in their last 2 games, Cody. They're not exactly running on a high.
Oh, yeah, look, I understand that, but Canberra also have a knack for when you least expect it, they come out and play like prime Barcelona. And I can talk about the men's or women's team in that regard.
And Sydney drew with Canberra earlier this season. It was a 1-1 draw. Like, you never know.
Canberra have it in them to pull out a good performance.
They can, absolutely.
So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one game that Canberra look at and go, you know what, we'll get a point at least from this game. And that's enough to knock, Wellington out of contention. The Adelaide game would be the interesting one because it'll be how Adelaide go there. If Adelaide go to Wellington and put on a 5-star performance, they can come out with a result as well.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't know how long Wellington have in terms of trying to make finals, but let's just say they do get 6 points. That last game against Wanderers is going to be thrilling.
100%. The Melbourne derby went to a 0-0 draw I didn't watch it, so I can't say hard forward, but it looks like City controlled the game to an extent. A lot of fouls, 4 yellow cards, no reds, but a share of the points in that game heading in. I think that kind of almost with City's fixtures, they've got one game that could go either way, then an away trip to Perth. So it probably depends on how that Mariners game goes to what their mindset is heading to across the country for the last round, but we'll see how that goes. Anything thought-provoking for either Melbourne team, guys, or do we just want to push on?
I think if there's one thing I just want to say about City. If I am any other team in finals, City's probably the team that I want to play right now. And I say that knowing full well the quality they have. They do look a bit devoid of ideas. They do look for what you mentioned to match what you said before, Michelle, a little bit stale. They look like they're going to host a finals match, but in all honesty, if I'm a Wanderers, Mariners, Victory, I'd back myself against them.
100%. Speaking of a team that definitely does not look stale, the Central Coast Mariners have turned it on at the back end of the year this team looks good, and a 4-1 win over Canberra of all sorts, but they're on a run at the right end of the season. How high up do you see them finishing, guys?
Sorry, I needed to do the math to see where it actually, I don't know what they've got ahead of them.
So they're currently sitting in 4th with 34.
They technically can still win the league.
City away and United at home. Western.
Okay, maybe not.
Western at home to finish.
That's a tough period to get 6 points from. They probably look, considering their form, although they have been playing some weaker sides. You wouldn't put it past them to get 6 points in 6, would you?
I don't think they would. I think City away is going to be hard for them. I know Sydney's not been, in top form, but I think considering that that's next week, and they held Melbourne Victory to a goalless draw, I think that they'll come back, especially at home. that they will come back with a bit more vigor. I think Western United at home for Mariners. I think, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Western United's lost players. The Mariners are in good form. It's a Thursday, so I reckon they could get a point or 3 points from that game. I don't think they'll get much from City. They might get a point from City.
Yeah.
See,
I don't
the
see
way
them beating City.
I could see him beating City.
We're about to get into this. Don't go too heavy because I'm about to go through all this.
I'm just going to say, I can see it.
Yeah.
6 points is a big ask. I'm not going to say they'll win both games. There'll be somewhere where they slip up. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 4. I think that's probably a likely scenario for them. It's interesting about see how they're moving. I reckon they can solidify a top 4 spot. More than capable of doing that.
Yeah. 2 teams that definitely need to, 1, continue form, and 2, find some form pretty quick just to make sure they don't slip. Western United lose 3-1 at their home ground opening to the Jets this weekend. I think Western United picked up the lead early and then the Jets piled on goals to spoil their celebrations at the new home of Western United. Libby Copus-Brown scored... No, sorry, I take this back. Libby Copus-Brown scored an absolute worldie to set the bar alight for the Jets to kick things off. Then United drew it up, and then it went from there. Look, I'm not complaining. We're putting points on the board at the right end of the season. Can we get to finals? That's another question that we're about to answer in the next section. We've spoken about Western United a little bit. Michelle, what do you think of the Jets? Do they have a chance to come anywhere close? They have victory at home and then Adelaide away.
No. Realistically, it's not just about their results. They are also relying on other results of match day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Newcastle can beat Melbourne Victory, for one.
Yeah, I don't think they can. No.
That's already 3 points lost because I do think Melbourne Victory would beat the Jets. And then they've got Adelaide United away the week after. I think they can get 3 points from Adelaide, just the way that Adelaide's playing, the way Newcastle potentially might be playing. I think Newcastle is just too inconsistent. I think they have good games and they got bad games, but they're not like consistent. And like look at their last 5 games was win, loss, draw, win, loss. So I can't see them turning it around that quickly to going for a double win, a triple win. And then they're sitting 3 points behind Western Sydney. If Western Sydney wins on the weekend and the Jets don't, then they're sitting 6 points behind Western Sydney, and then finals is out of reach. So they're going to have to hope that Western Sydney lose, and they're going to have to try and turn one on against Melbourne Victory. And I think they've got a lot of really good players like Libby Copus-Brown, like you mentioned before, and Serena Bolden, but I don't think that that's enough to beat Emily Gilnick, Alex Chidiac, Kayla Morrison. There's too many players on that Melbourne Victory side that are just, a bit better than the Jets as a club.
Hey, kick us while we're down.
Yeah, look, probably not, but I think the way I see it, considering 1, what I expected from the Jets this season, and 2, what they've kind of dished up the last few years, I think you still look at this season as successful for them. They've played well. They've been exciting to watch. Yeah, they've been inconsistent at times, but overall, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, Josh. They've been a fun team to watch in a way. So, look, I wouldn't mind seeing them in finals. I think that still adds something to it. And when you've got a player like Serena Bolden, you're always in with a fighting chance. You're probably in a position where, unfortunately, it's out of your hands. It's not something that you can kind of take control of and go, yeah, before you do this, this, and this, we're in. Let's just go do our jobs. If they were in that position, I'd back them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not the way the ladder's working at the moment. So I think they've got 2 more games left this season. But you know what? I'd back them to end on a high. Mainly because you're playing Adelaide, but I won't kick Adelaide while they're down.
That's okay. All right, let's go into some predictions because I have some thoughts. I think the Jets are going to make finals purely based on the results of Western Sydney. So I'm going to walk you guys through the next 2 weeks, and we're going to build a little ladder. So as of right now, Sydney are a point clear on 36. You got Western United, City, Mariners, Victory, Wanderers, Jets, Perth, Brisbane, Wellington, Adelaide, Canberra are out. So let's just not count them. So Wellington play Adelaide midweek. That'll let them jump over Perth for now. I reckon the Jets host Melbourne, a 2-2 draw. I think Newcastle is going to turn out. I'm going to say Melbourne will probably blow out the first half. I reckon it'll be 2-0 at halftime to Melbourne, and that is going to get them the point. And that's where they don't lose the full 3. I think City drop 2 points to the Mariners. I think the Mariners I reckon it's going to be a goal fest. I'm looking at about 3-3, but it's going to be a split. Yeah, I reckon it's going to be huge. Like, you look at Mariners' last few, they've got Peter Trimmer's coming back.
Yeah, but who's going to score the goals for City?
I don't know, mate. It's just going to happen. It's okay. I believe. Let me have a look. I'll give you the answers, Michelle. You hold up. I will give you the answer.
Oh my God.
Guys, it's okay. I've thought this through. It might not be 3-3, but it's going to be a draw.
How much spare time do you have in your hands?
Look, I did this in 20 minutes. Leave me alone.
Oh, fuck.
Who? Melbourne City? I want to... Okay, let me look at Melbourne City.
I mean, you got Galich coming back, I guess.
Got Galich, yes. Okay, maybe not 3-3, maybe 1-1. I still think Central Coast might win that, but that's a different
Their
story.
highest scoring game this season was 5-0 over Adelaide. They've not scored above 5. And this year, they've had
If my maths is correct, Michelle, 3 is below 5. So
yeah, but that's all. But look at their last few games: 0-0 draw, 2-0, 2-0 loss, 1-0 draw, 0-0, 3-1 loss, 3-1 loss.
You know what? Maybe I'm not perfect, but the idea is that they're only going to take a point. I think Western are going to beat the Wanderers this week. I think you mentioned Cat Smith going back to the Wanderers ground. I think there's going to be a little fire in the belly that's going to ignite that team. They've got a lot of people coming back from the Young Matildas squad to hopefully fill that gap. Fingers crossed.
Carly Johnson back.
Yeah. So that's where I think that the points go the opposite way. I have Canberra potentially beating Wellington, which is a throwaway result anyway. Sydney obviously beat Adelaide. Brisbane beat Perth. Then Sydney are going to beat Canberra, and that's pretty much where they're going to wrap up the title, given that the Mariners are going to beat Western Sydney at home to end out, because I think Central Coast will turn out for that. I have the Jets beating Adelaide 1-0, so that'll be 4 points for the Jets over their 2 games. Michelle's not agreeing with me. For anyone listening at home, she's looking at me like I'm absolutely...
The Mariners don't play Western Sydney. You mean Western United?
Western United, that's what I meant. Thank you. I have Western on my screen. So Mariners will get up over Western United to end their season out, which is going to... That game is where Sydney win the title. There, because there's no one else then in contention that could take Sydney. So they won't wrap it up on the midweek game, but they'll wrap it up after the first game of the next week. Jets go to Adelaide, and it'll probably be hard fought, but I reckon the Jets will come out 1-0 in front. I don't have the Wanderers picking up points against Wellington away as well. After a loss to Western United, I reckon Wanderers go 0-2 in their last 2. Sydney Victory could go as a draw or a win, depending on what form Victory come out. And obviously, if they beat the Jets, everything's out anyway. And then I have City going to Perth and beating Perth. So how that ends my table at the end of the season: Sydney are 2 points clear at the top, premiers. Western United tie with City on points, but have a better goal difference, so they become second. So then it'll be City versus... listen to this for some elimination finals. City Victory, Mariners Jets.
Wait, is this because Mariners get in third?
Yeah, no, Mariners get 4th.
So you think Jets are going to come 5th?
No, I have the other way. No. That's my bad. I haven't fixed that around. So it'll be City Jets and Mariners Victory. I mean,
a lot less tantalizing.
Poetically, it would be better the other way around. But there's no way the Jets get into 5th. It mathematically cannot happen. So that is my idea. How wrong am I?
I just think you need another hobby.
This was my second attempt at a hobby, guys. If this goes through, I'm done.
No, look, I think Look, my basis for Wanderers ending up in the top 6 is I think they can go and get a result against Western United. If they lose that game, then yeah, it leaves a very good opportunity for Jets to kind of take that spot in the top 6. My question would be, can Jets get 6 points from 6 or even 4 points from 6? That's a massive ask. This weekend probably arguably is more important than what the last round will be. I think certain results happen this weekend. It'll put a lot more pressure on the last round, but a lot of teams can get a good job done this weekend. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Jets and Wanderers both come away with wins, because Jets obviously have a little bit of an easier trip in their last round. Wanderers obviously have to go to New Zealand. And Jets, do they have to go to Adelaide or are they at home?
They're at Adelaide.
They're at Adelaide, okay. It is a little bit
both away
trickier.
days. But if the Wanderers win, it's over, I think.
Yeah.
Depending.
Like you're on one extreme, I'm on the other. It's how the 8 odds goes. There's 3 sides to every story. Yours, mine, and the truth. The reality
Could you imagine
what happens is somewhere in the middle.
The A-League sitting in the office right now and going, oh, look, if we can somehow make results work, we could have a Melbourne derby and an M1 derby in the elimination finals to kick off.
Yeah, but they could also look at it and go, if Wanderers can get themselves into finals and do well in that first game, we've got a Sydney derby doubleheader to advertise. Either way, they're going to have
options.
Games.
It's going to be a doubleheader.
They shouldn't need games to advertise.
Yeah, it will.
Sorry?
A doubleheader?
It'll be
a week,
2 legs.
Back to back over 2 weeks. It's 2 legs.
Oh, I thought you meant like it's Sydney derby doubleheader. I was like,
how?
The men aren't doing another Sydney derby.
Well, the men do have another Sydney derby.
Yeah, they do, but they won't do a doubleheader for it.
Oh, you'd want to hope not. That'd be shit.
No, it was terrible.
Why'd you do it anyway? Just because they feel like it.
All right.
And it might actually match up with when the next doubleheader is meant to be.
So come back and at me when I'm completely wrong, guys, but I won't be here. I'll be in Vietnam, so that's okay. One thing that did happen this week while we were away, our Young Matildas secured bronze in the Asian Cup this week. So good results. I would say there's a lot of room for improvement, which there should be in an under-20 squad. Don't know how much you guys watched. I watched the first 2 games, didn't see the final game against South Korea, but I watched, I think, all the group games, I believe, or most of it, until we started getting beat pretty bad by Japan. Was it Japan? Yeah, in that final game. What did you like out of this squad, considering this is the future of this team? Who would you look at and go, cool, all right, you're now probably, your name's going to start circulating in that under mix for injuries or coming into that extended squad for certain camps, Cody?
Look, the obvious name's probably Daniela Galic. And that's one that she's already had that opportunity to be a train-on player in a Matilda squad. It's hard to say. There's a lot. The problem is the Matildas are in a position where there is a very high standard in that side. It's very hard for a young player, especially at the age that the Young Matildas are at, to kind of come in and break into it. You're looking at, it's not just that they're an under-20 side, they're a very young under-20 side as well. We'll take in a group of 16-year-olds to that tournament. They could play at the next, even after this, I think some of them could play at the next 2 under-20s World Cups. That's how young this team is, which is fantastic on one end. And it also kind of contextualizes how good it was to come third, considering some of them aren't that experienced or aren't experienced at all.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at names, it's probably the obvious ones. Your Daniela Galiches, your Indiana Dos Santoses, Maddie Caspers. Lara Gooch was probably someone that surprised me a little bit. I know she was one that was probably a bit more of an impact player, but she was able to come on and do her job well in different games. Naomi Chinema, someone that I was definitely very, very impressed with. Definitely someone to watch in terms of centre-backs coming through. I think you've mentioned this off air, Michelle. Would have liked to have seen Talia Franco get a run at some stage. But no, there's definitely, you look at that side and there's 7 or 8 that you look at and go, there's potential there to be a starting Matildas player in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think Chinema is probably a good shout too, because you look at the centre back role is that one that we're kind of shouting at the moment. Like, hey, we're going to need something there pretty soon.
Maybe Sasha Grove, someone that I'm kind of petering on.
Sasha Grove was really good. I actually really enjoyed watching her.
It was good. She's good, but I think I kind of expected it from her as well at the same time. Yeah. Look, it speaks to how good she's played in the A-League recently, where you're coming in with that expectation, like you know she's going to step up and perform. I think even Alexia Postolaka, she's very good on the ball, versatile. Obviously, we saw her centre back during the tournament, but it's talking about someone that can play fullback or midfield as well. I wouldn't be surprised if she breaks into the Matilda side as a fullback. I think she does get that opportunity, but I think you're talking 4 or 5 years down the track with her as well. You're not talking immediately. And that's the thing, like, as much as you can talk about how good these players are, they're definitely not immediate Matildas, and that speaks to
we're still talking like a cycle and a half away, really, to be fair.
And it's for 2 reasons. One, because we've already got a very good Matilda side and we're not desperate for young players to come in to fill gaps. And 2, these players are at ages where you don't need to rush them in. Like, they're still at that teenage level where, you know, you can give them a bit of time before they need to break into the side. I don't need Daniela Galish to make her Matilda's debut when she's 16, 17. She can make it when she's 21 for all I care. I'll be happy. But you know, you look at her and you know that she's going to get there eventually. It's that aura almost, that what do you call it? She's got something special about it. One name I haven't actually mentioned that we probably should talk about, Petritrimus. She was absolutely fantastic. She scored, what was it, 3 goals across the whole tournament? She's a top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Probably should give her a bit of a mention. She's someone I wasn't sure how she'd do at this level, but she came in, she was fantastic. So
yeah,
definitely a lot of good signs coming at her. She's someone that could be a potential Matilda 4 or 5 years down the track. She's only 17 as well. It's nuts.
Yeah. Michelle?
I was just going to say, a lot of the names that Cody mentioned are obviously very young, like under 18. So I think we got a while till we get to see them in the Matildas, because I mean, they're not even playing under 23s. So, you know, I think in time we will see these players come through, and I think, it's been mentioned a number of times where we were in the last Asian Cup to where we are now is absolutely unreal, and it's such a huge improvement and a huge testament to the investment that's been put into to this program and to the young girls. So yeah, and I think Leah Blaney's just done a fantastic job with them as well. So no, it's awesome. I think, I will always want to see Talia Franco play. I think she's a great goalkeeper. She's obviously not playing at Sydney. She's a backup goalie. So it's hard to kind of give the coaches a reason to play her, because Chloe Lincoln plays, Talia Franco doesn't. So it's hard in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk bad, because these are young players and there's only so much that I know what's going on or whatever. But I think Chloe Lincoln has a long way to go if she wants to be cementing a number 1 spot. I think, Canberra's not been great. She's at Canberra, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she hasn't. Look, she's had an up and down season as well.
Yeah, it's not been the best
coming
season.
into this season. She's been fairly consistent and playing well. So
well, last season I think she was a lot better.
Fantastic.
So which is why it's a bit
she's
hard.
Conceded 46 odd goals. So
well, that's the whole team has conceded that many goals. Like there is also a back line that is not doing their job properly.
100%. Yeah.
But I think,
and she's been away for 8 or 9 of those goals as well recently.
Yeah, exactly. I think that first goal that was given away against Japan was just like a bit of a mistake. But yeah, I mean, look, they held on in that game for a long time, and obviously they got pumped in the end. But is what it is. Japan's number 1 ranked team basically at this point. But yeah, I think in time these players, a lot of them will go on to be Matildas, senior Matildas. All of them, probably not. But that's football.
That's the nature of a youth team, and they don't all need to go on to be Matildas or anything like that.
No.
I think I see it a lot on the men's side personally, where once the players even just stepped up into a 23, it's like, okay, when are they going to get their chance at Socceroos? When are they going to get their chance at Socceroos? And you're almost at a point where you end up giving out token caps for no reason. And that's something that does kind of frustrate me.
And they might change allegiances.
Yeah, of course.
So
I don't know how many of this contingent of the under-20s could play for other countries. But there's always that possibility. So I think Apostolakis is eligible for the Philippines, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
With a name like Apostolakis?
I would say
I remember a story coming out in the lead up to the... I was going to say, imagine that. Born and raised in Australia, Greek last name, playing for the Philippines. That's great. That speaks to Australia as a society, if anything.
I think that Dos Santos girls could probably play for, I think, Brazil or Portugal, something like that.
I reckon they could get into a Portugal team. Brazil would be tough.
Easy.
But then again, Australia would be tough too. But no, I was going to say with Apostolakis, I've got a vague memory of a story coming out in the lead up to the 2023 World Cup, Serena Bolden, while she was at the Wanderers, was trying to convince Apostolakis to switch allegiances to play for the Philippines at the tournament. So there could be that lingering in the background, but she's someone who you'd look at and go, she's definitely got potential to play for the Matildas. So you'd follow that path as long as possible until it's probably not feasible anymore. But then again, you go to Philippines, you could be a mainstay in that side and a key player. So at the end of the day, it depends on where a player feels more comfortable and what they feel themselves, where their culture lies, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
true.
how I don't think you should decide who you kind of devote your allegiances to based on footballing reasons, or whether you're going to be a star or whether you're just going to get to play for a bigger nation. You do it for where you feel your culture lies. If she's someone that feels Australian, push to play for Australia. She's someone that genuinely feels like she's more Filipino than Australian, go play for the Philippines. There's nothing wrong with that.
She's got a Filipino mother and a second-generation Greek father.
I was going to say a name like Apostolakis, she has to be Greek. If she feels Greek, go play for Greece. I'm sure their women could do with a bit more talent, because I'm speaking based off a vibe, but I'm pretty sure Greece's women's national team kind of sucks. I don't know for a fact, it's a guess, but I'm 90% sure I'm correct. I don't care about the Greece women's national team. What are they going to do? Come here and have a go at me?
Oh my god!
I don't care. I'm pretty sure Greek people that are listening will probably agree with me. I have never heard once anything about their women's national team come out in general. So by my theory, if we're not hearing about them, it's because they're relevant. So you know what? Maybe Apostolakis can go play for them and make them kind of relevant. It's kind of what I look at with Serbia as well, with Vesna Milivojevic. If it wasn't for her, maybe they'd be even worse. Because I don't think they're all that crash hot at the moment. But then again, I think they're actually half decent at the last Nations League. But now I'm getting off topic. I'm thinking too far ahead. If there's one,
they're not that bad, Cody.
Greece?
They did come fourth in their group in Group League B of the Nations League.
So they got relegated.
So they will be going down to League C, but they were in League B. They did only cop 1 point out of. They copped 3 points out of their 5 games, 6 games they played.
And who are they playing against?
Poland, Serbia, and Ukraine.
So they're playing against. So I know Serbia did half decent.
Yeah,
and so Poland's actually a side that Poland's on a bit of a rise.
Yeah, they probably maybe beat Ukraine, I would dare say. But yeah,
that's fair enough. One thing I wanted to talk about with the Under-20s World Cup as well, just before we move on, because Michelle did allude to considering what happened at the last Asian Cup. I don't know how many people listening would know this. The last Under-20s Asian Cup we went to, we had 2 wins. They were all right games. We got smacked by some teams that we ended up playing against this tournament as well. North Korea beat us 5-1, which I guess based on the balance of things, when you're playing a top Asian nation, it's something that can happen. We lost 7-0 to Japan. We lost 9-1 to North Korea in that tournament, and we've just gone and beaten twice. Yeah, we've missed a tournament in between because of COVID, so a bit of time has passed. But you're talking about that tournament that we went to. We had Mary Fowler, Cara Cooney-Cross, Courtney Nevin, and Charlie Grant. Charlie Grant was a bench player at that tournament. But a contingent like that have gone on, some of them to be key Matildas players, Nevin and Grant, you maybe talk about fringe Matildas, but still good enough to get in the World Cup squad. That contingent came out of a tournament like that. So what does that say about what could possibly come out of this team? If you're talking about we're able to get 4 Matildas and 4 very good players out of a campaign that did not go well at all.
Yeah.
What comes out of a campaign that does do well?
Another big thing happening this week, guys, is the Olympics draw. We will have a special episode covering that with a special guest, given hopefully that we're all, well, one of us isn't available, but maybe the other isn't as well. So it might be me and a special guest, depending.
I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best.
So it might be me and a special guest hosting this episode. So we'll see how that goes. In the latest FIFA rankings, we did not move. We stayed in our exact spot. So that will not change our pot at all. It'll be very interesting to see how these groups form. So the draw is happening, I believe, on Wednesday. We will have our episode covering it out on Thursday or Friday. But yeah, good news all around. Open mic time. Do you guys have anything to add this week around the world of football? Anything you want to throw out there, hot takes, or things that you just think the people should know?
Give me 1 second, because in the lead up to this recording, I did post in a Facebook group chat about possibly playing games at the MCG. I know you said you weren't going to talk about it. I thought I'd bring it up anyway. We can have a 2-minute chat about it. I said basically, what if you want to see the Matildas play at the MCG? No, friendly, 2026 Asian Cup, make it happen. The most popular answer is one added by a Gemma Goldhagen, which says football games at oval stadiums are trash.
That is a 10.0 on the gymnastic scale. Perfect score.
I only speak for the people. I only represent the people. The people don't like games at oval stadiums. I'm going to preface, oval stadium is not something that bugs me. You could play a game with an athletics track around a football pitch. They do it in stadiums all around the world. It's not as good as what a rectangular stadium is. Obviously, that's a preference. But an oval track around the stadium isn't bad. The problem is we're not talking about an oval stadium with the MCG. We are talking about a literal big fuck-off circle that is 50 meters for a box and about 150 meters in diameter and really, really big. So I've got no argument against an oval stadium or a semi-rectangular stadium with flat lines. The ANZ, I know people don't necessarily like it, but it's doable. The MCG, unfortunately, is built for cricket and AFL. Unfortunately, as a country, they are our two most popular sports, and stadiums do tend to be designed for them. But look, I'd happily see the Matildas sell out 105 seats at an MCG. I reckon they could do it, but don't do it for the Asian Cup because you're running a big risk of playing a just trying to think of a weird game that you can get in an Asian Cup. Let's just say an Uzbekistan v Chinese Taipei, and if you play that at the MCG, if that's how the draw works, you're going to have maybe 1,000, 2,000 people in 100,000 seat venue, and it is not going to look good.
That game gets scheduled at the MCG.
But they select the stadiums for certain games before the draw's out. So if they get drawn into that stadium for that game, then they're not fixing it after the fact, and you're looking at potentially the AFC having egg on their face. But then again, we're talking about a confederation that loves money, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do it.
We're also talking about, there's a difference between circular stadiums overseas that have running tracks compared to the ovals that we have in Australia. Because these ovals,
that's what I meant, because these ovals are fucking massive.
Yeah, but more than that is the way that the seating is. So the grounds are made for it to be wide. So instead of the seats going up and are steep so that everywhere that you look, you have a good view of the field, the seats kind of go out. So it's flat and it's out. And the field itself isn't flat. It's it goes up. It's over a mound. These sports cricket and AFL are both made to be played on giant fields just to run around and to have the most space as possible, which is fine for those sports. But it doesn't work in our sport when we have to have certain, restrictions in terms of the length and the size of the field. So it's so frustrating that, one, not only do we have a confederation in the AFC that only cares about the money, but two, the football federation here that only cares about the money. Because if they really cared about the atmosphere, if they really cared about the fans, then they wouldn't be playing the Matildas games in Marvel Stadium anymore. They'd just say, all right, let's just do Amy Park. Let's sell out Amy Park. They wouldn't say, yeah, let's play a core stadium. Let's play at Allianz, where it's 50,000 people. It's compact. It's awesome viewing because it's made for rectangular sports. There's nothing wrong with playing in these size stadiums. I don't understand why people are always like, oh, but the money, and more people want to go to the games. And it's like, okay, that's great, but higher demand, you can charge more. Charge more then. If you really care about the money, just charge a high price.
I think one thing with Marvel, do you reckon the Matildas and Football Australia are in a position where they can go to Marvel and say, if you want to host Matildas games from now on, you need to push the seats out and actually have that rectangular configuration?
Well, no, because the way the stadium is built is just, it's flat, and the field is it goes up, it curves.
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
I had friends who were sitting, in the family and friends section or whatever, and the view was terrible. They were stuck behind the benches. They couldn't see anything because the field is like a weird raised sort of level. So you can't even see the field properly because the benches are there. It was a joke. And it's imagine paying I don't know, $100 to get the seats on the side. But because it's an oval, you're so far away, and the field of play is far away. You can't see anything. You're stuck watching the security guard for 90 minutes. So it's like, why do we do this?
I mean, from the FA's perspective, you just look at the shit fight that it is to get tickets at the games that have been announced for China now, and everybody complaining that they can't get tickets and yada yada yada. I could see why they're like, cool, if we get more seats, it's not going to be an issue. But
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword at the moment because if you're struggling to fill demand when you've got an 83,000 seater venue, how do you then sit there and go, okay, we're going to go back to playing in a 20, 30,000 seater stadium? We're in a position now with the Matildas where there's only really 4 or 5 stadiums around Australia that you can actually play a game in because the demand is that high. You can't go back to Blue Tongue. You can't go back to, not Blue Tongue, Industry Group. You can't go back to Newcastle.
No.
Those stadiums simply aren't big enough anymore, where they used to be almost mainstays for Matildas. Cogra used to be a big venue for them.
Newcastle...
Penrith used to be a big venue for them.
Yeah, Newcastle with standing room wouldn't be too bad. It does...
You'd talk a 20,000 seater venue, people would lose their shit.
Oh,
People
Newcastle's
are losing their shit. So it wouldn't be more than 25. But I can guarantee you if the Matildas played a game in Sydney and they played it at Allianz, people would lose their shit saying, why don't you put an ANZ? More people want to go. If you're struggling to keep demand right at Allianz, how are you going to go to Newcastle where it's even worse?
But I think that's football, right? You look at, you don't see these top flight EPL teams take out City, right? You look at Old Trafford, you look at Anfield and all of these, they're 35, 40,000 seat stadiums and that's it.
Old Trafford's 75.
Oh yeah, well, fuck, my numbers are wrong.
But and Anfield are constantly upgrading, to be fair.
But there's still...
That's also a place's home. That's a different story. And you're playing, you're getting at least 19 games a year out of a stadium. Unfortunately, when you look at the Matildas, we're lucky to get maybe 4 or 5 games in Australia a year. They're the only team that can justify playing in an 80, 85,000 rectangular venue. What do you do with a stadium every other time of the year? It's a balancing act. It's a tough one. I feel bad for the people at the top, but unfortunately, they're the ones that get paid big money. They're the ones that got to sort it out. I can talk here on the podcast all day. I don't get paid for this shit. I'm not the one that's going to come up with the answer. It's the ones that get paid the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that can work that out.
The other issue is that all our stadiums were built for Olympic Games. So
I've heard someone talk about it. It's,
Melbourne and Sydney was literally designed for the Olympic Games. So
it's a trend that happened even outside the Olympics. It's a trend that happened in the 90s where you wanted everything to be bigger and better. And now, at least in Sydney, you're talking about either football that you get 13,000 to 15,000 people for on a good day, and the NRL where you get maybe 15,000 to 20,000 people for on a good day. Yeah, maybe 25 if you're the Parramatta Eels. But we don't have the stadia to provide a good atmosphere for those kinds of crowds. Unfortunately, we went for, bigger is better. Bigger's not always better. The Matildas are the only, maybe aside from New South Wales Blues, the only team that could sell out a 80,000+ rectangular venue.
But again, they only play 3 games a year.
And also,
the Blues only play 1, to be fair.
Really, a core stadium isn't really a rectangular stadium.
No,
it's
it's the closest we've got. That's
it's a weird shaped. Yeah, you can't play AFL on it.
It's an athletics track without the athletics track.
You can't play cricket or AFL on it, but it's
it's like an oval. I don't know.
That's the peak stadium that was built for the Olympics, right? That was
Well, it's Stadium Australia. It's the national stadium.
Yeah,
which if they had just built the seats a bit more steeper, it would be perfect, right?
Yeah.
I feel like people would have less issues if the seats were steep, but because it's so wide and flat, people have problems with it because it sucks. It sucks to watch.
They need to just cut the ends off and push the ends in. Just make it a little more, because it's the ends that are the issue, right? Because you're sitting 30, 40 meters back from the goals, which kind of
And look, realistically, half the problem. So look. You have a lot of issues here. Part of the problem is the stadiums we play in provide no atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
But part of that problem is also the crowd does not want to be part of the atmosphere. You have a whole active group who does everything and who tries, but then all they do is get in trouble by security and by the other fans that are sitting in the active area. So there are issues everywhere within all of this sort of talk and stuff. And yes, we get, an active section but people as we've seen, people are buying tickets wherever they can, right? So they're buying tickets in China's active bay. They're buying tickets in our active bay, but they just want to watch the game. And it's like, I understand you want to get a ticket to the game. I completely get it. But like, just know that it's going to be active. It's going to be restricted view. And I am going to yell at you if you don't sing. So stand up and
I
sing.
know they used to put a warning on those tickets saying if you
They
buy a
do.
ticket here, you will be
They have it.
required to.
They literally, you click through 3 warnings I bought tickets in that section for this game. You click through 3 warnings
Active debut. Nice.
to say, yeah, I know, I got you. Yeah, you click through 3 warnings saying restricted view, active. Like, you're well aware.
Well, then, yeah, it should be up to security to say you've bought a ticket, you've agreed to these rules.
Security going to side with?
They should be siding with what the ticket displays.
Yeah, but they don't care.
That's their rules.
They don't care.
No, they should.
They don't care about
give a
us.
Nah,
That's and we could go down a rabbit hole with security in this country as well.
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's something else to talk about. That's fine. But yeah, I think I know that it sucks for the FA because they obviously want to get as many people into the stadiums as possible. I just think it also sucks for people who watch the sport for the sport, who support the league and other leagues and whatnot. I just think it's one of those. Like we've mentioned before, it's a double-edged sword. Like, it's great that they're getting the attention. It's great that they're getting the support and the funding and everything like that. That's awesome. I just think that it, like, no matter what, it's gonna suck for people who've been around for a while, and the sort of fun that we used to have, we can't have that fun anymore, and we can't play in the same stadiums. And I just think that the smaller stadiums were better. And I do think it's funny though that like the Matildas selling out, Accor and Adelaide Oval, but the Socceroos are playing on Thursday for a World Cup qualifier, and I think there's probably like 20,000 tickets that have been sold.
Yeah, there's still tickets available. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Like, but
funnily enough, I got a ticket to that game. I can't even make it.
Yeah.
Rip.
How long do you see this going on though for the Matildas? Like, at what point does the fandom die off?
Depends.
It'll take a disastrous World Cup campaign, I reckon.
Yeah, it'll have to be like a loss, like if they lose or something. I do worry that people will kind of, I don't know, we lose a game to like, I don't know, Germany or something, right?
Yeah.
For example. And they're like, oh, the Matildas suck, and, we hate Sam Kerr because she's a racist, rah, rah, rah. She was in jail for one night, like... I think it's going to take something a bit bigger than that, but I think a bad loss or something, and people. Yeah. I don't trust Australians to support in the bad times.
That's where I'm at. Is like the FA is going to keep getting money while they can, because they probably know in a couple of years, in between the next cycle, right? They're probably going to go, cool. All right, we're back to the smaller stadiums, and there's not as much.
I think we want it to stay this large. Like, this is great, right? I think the Socceroos never even had this sort of level of support, right? Even after the Uruguay games, right? I don't think they've ever had this level of support. So I think
they got 96,000 at the MCG after that game.
Yeah, but that's the MCG,
2006 World Cup too.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think
Matildas play that now. They get 100.
Well, yes, I think we're not at a stage where we have to worry about it. I think everything's going to be fine for ages. My biggest concern is that because the FA and the APL clearly have some sort of beef, like how are we going to grow the game? Because the Matildas, they're not doing anything. The players, like Courtney Vine is the only one that's promoting the A-League here. How are we getting anyone to support our league? Yeah. And that's the big problem. And we spoke about this when we started this podcast as well, right? Like, and the reality is, like, I looked at some of the crowd figures from this last weekend, and it's not great. This weekend we had, last weekend I should say. Oh no, yeah, the weekend that just gone. There's no there wasn't anything for the Wellington game, sorry, but like the highest crowd was Jets versus Western United. 2,000, right? 2,040. And the lowest was Western Sydney versus Canberra. Oh no, Melbourne City versus the Jets the week before with 375 people. 376 at Western Sydney. That was a Wednesday. I'll give them that. But then a Saturday afternoon, Western Sydney versus Perth, 427 people. Like, this is the problem. Where are we getting these fans from? Western Sydney, the thing that Western Sydney is doing right now to kind of promote their brand is commenting on TikToks. Every single WOSO video I see, the Wonder Women account has commented, and like that's all well and good.
I kind of like that, but mainly because they've commented on a lot of mine.
But like, and that's all well and good, but it's like, what is it really doing? Like, it's putting your brand out there, absolutely. But it's clear that there's no return of investment. There's no one going to the games. And like, they can make all these awesome videos. Their content is really good, but they're not actually doing anything. There's no one going into the stadiums. That's the problem.
Yeah. And you're seeing it for the teams with Matildas in it, and the teams that don't have face Matildas are struggling as well. Like, you're seeing it, people are going for Courtney Vine or Alex Chidiac or things like that, the people that they know. And then when there's a team that they're like, oh.
In Wellington, there were people there to see Courtney Vine. There were people from Wellington who were there to see Courtney Vine.
Yeah.
Like, not people who travelled. There were people who lived there who support Sydney FC because of Courtney Vine. And it's like, that's all well and good. But you know what I would like to see? I would like to see people like Sam Kerr, Caitlin Ford, Alana Kennedy start talking about the A-League and talking about their experience in the A-League and start supporting the league, promoting the league. Why is no one trying to get them to promote the league here? Could you
imagine trying to get that into their contract?
But they support the NRL and AFL much more than they do the A-League women's.
Yeah.
I reckon it's because they're coming at it with money as well, though.
Oh.
They're not paid to promote the Brisbane Broncos.
I know there was a couple that got invited around Broncos training ground.
Yeah, but they're all fans of the Broncos. Like Macca,
I wouldn't be surprised if Broncos gave them money.
Steph Catley's known as a St Kilda fan. She's not being paid by St Kilda to promote St Kilda and talk about St Kilda. She's just posting it on her story. What I don't see and what I would like to see is them just like, oh yeah, watching the A-League women's, rah, rah, rah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the only players who do that are like Courtney Nevin or Remy Simpson, like the more of the fringe sort of players. Guys. And it's like, that's awesome from their end, but like, imagine the impact if Sam Kerr was like, hey guys, go out and watch and support Perth Glory. If you support Perth Glory, you're a friend of mine, you know? Like,
it sounds stupid, Cody, but like, it would work. Like,
I wasn't suggesting it was stupid.
It's like, it's something as simple as that. But like, especially like now where Sam's got that much downtime doing rehab. Like,
especially if you're talking about one of their last games of the season, saying, hey guys, we're pushing for finals, guys, support the girls.
That's what I mean.
Wishing my team former luck.
It's cool. But
it's also up to Perth to go to her and ask her for that as well.
I would imagine. I imagine they probably have. I know Sydney's like tried to keep in contact with Caitlin Ford as well, and like they do get her to like every now and then they'll be like, I think they had her do like a good luck video for the finals or whatever, but that goes on Sydney socials, not on Caitlin's socials. You know, it's all well and good for us. For
you need to be reaching the 100,000 followers instead of the 20,000 or whatever it is that. Sydney has,
Sydney's one of the better teams when it comes to the crowd figures, right? They're like, I'd say they're fine for the most part, realistically, but it's like the Wanderers, the Jets, even the Jets are actually pretty decent. Like,
yeah, we get Emily Van Egg one. We know what we're doing. Probably not anymore that Gary's gone, but like that was a pretty easy calling card for us.
Like, for the most part,
but we're a different type of town, though, right? Like,
exactly.
Our teams are our teams. Like, we don't have 6 that you can choose from. Like up here, like you're not a Central Coast supporter because we're an hour or like 30 minutes away. You're a Jets supporter. Like you are. Like our teams are our town. So
I just think that the Matildas players, could do more to support the league. Steph Catley was at the game. Don't get me wrong. She actually went to a game. Which is awesome. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? I just think that they support, it feels like they support the NRL and the AFL as leagues, as competitions, as opposed to supporting and don't really care about football as a competition. I think they care about football as a sport because they play in it and they care about their league, but like they don't watch it.
I would agree. I would also argue that when do they have time to, considering it's on at the opposite time of the day, but like obviously you could like for a social post, like you can make time. But
yeah, I don't know. I think we can. I would hope that they would care about the league enough, considering it's where they've come from and they've built their careers on it. I think it, especially with the finals coming up, it would just be awesome for them to do a post, and be like, hey guys, make sure you get out to the A-League Women's Finals that are coming up this weekend. If you're in Australia, make sure you grab your ticket. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah,
And it wouldn't be hard to get 4 or 5 of them in one room, considering they all live within spitting distance of each other. 3 of them play for the exact same team. Like you could literally just like cross post an entire video. One person records it, 3 of you say a line each, and it's there. Like
I think they could just like record a video and then send it to whoever needs it to be sent to, and they'll just edit it and then send it back to them for their social posts.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it would be good. I know it won't happen, but I would like to see the Matildas, I guess, support the league a bit more. It's just wishful thinking. It's just me ranting more than anything. But yeah, this has gone on for a very long time.
That was Cody's rabbit hole from asking us about the MCG. Thanks for
I
sticking
did not
around.
expect it to go that far.
Stupid Cody.
Good name, MCG. All right, guys. So we will be back later this week with a brand new episode touching on the Olympic groups that will 100% be featuring me, our special guest, and maybe Cody. Michelle's out. Maybe Cody, ? But keep an eye on our socials for the reveal of who will be joining us, and we'll be throwing questions to you if it is just the 2 of us, because we will need stuff to talk about for an hour or 45 minutes. So thanks for joining us for another week. You can find us on all socials at Talking Tillies. Make sure you're checking us out. Make sure you're spreading the word because that's what we're here to do. We're going to keep the conversation going from the World Cup through the Olympics and beyond. And we're nearly at the Olympics, which is crazy. 5 months nearly until kickoff today. Actually, sorry, about 4 months nearly until kickoff today. I think the first game's like the 20th of July or something. So the countdown is on. To Paris 2024. And we will see you guys later this week with our next episode of the Talking Tillies podcast. Goodbye.